I bought one and am loving it. But no engineer terminal, fire extinguisher, bathroom, suit locker. It does feel odd to be missing all those things, like they just haven't finished it.
Poor F8C is getting absolutely mogged by the M80. At least the M80 can annoy capital ships with the right loadout. The F8C only tickles them.
Looks like a hallway into a nightclub.
It's the only thing I don't like. That LED reminds me that RGB PC gamers from a few years.
This, 1,000 times this. They're so tacked on. They ruin the silhouette. What absolute dunderheads at Origin Design HQ slap those guns on the wings. I hate it. I hate it more because I would love this ship and probably use it if it wasn't like this. I just can't unsee them. My favourite ship is the Wolf because the guns hide away. This would have been an easy win, but no. Some soup said put more guns on it and now it's ruined. Big L.
With the disastrous launch of the Drake Ironclad, Ironclad Assault, and Aegis Tiburon at DefenseCon this year, the M80 shines and dazzles by comparison. But even if it wasn't just casting a shadow of perfection on these currently dysfunctional ships, the M80 is one of those ships that was bound to become an instant cult classic. Not that it's everyone's cup of tea, but you can't argue that it is unique. I've been flying the M80 almost exclusively since it came out, and when I'm not flying, I'm running around the verse in other ships to gather weapons and components for my M80, and I can say with full confidence that behind that sleek and stylish frame is an incredibly powerful ship. As per usual, there are caveats, like it has a bed but no bathroom. It's extremely fast but has a slower pitch and yaw, and that's okay, because every heavy fighter has its pros and cons, and that means choices matter. Ships aren't just another visual variant of other ships. They have, sometimes, vastly different characteristics. In this video, I'll break down the M80 into 3 categories: component loadout, weapon comparisons, and spaceflight strategies. For component loadout, I'll go over those on and off a budget. I know most everyone is broke right now, and few have crafted higher end components yet. For weapon comparisons, I've tested several builds, and I'll give you my feedback and my actual combat experience using these, and I'll explain why I think which builds are better for what. But before I get into that, I'll do a brief high-level overview of the M80 and talk about where it shines and where it struggles. The meta will always change, but as a foundational principle of space combat in Star Citizen, high speed will always allow you to catch up to your enemies and get away when you need to. So you have this beautifully fast and lethal ship, but
who's gonna fly it, kid? You?
You bet I could. I'm not such a bad pilot myself. I'm not gonna sit here and listen.
Okay, just hear me out, and I'll get more into piloting and strategy after we cover components and weapons. Similar to a ship like the Meteor or Buccaneer, the M80 is a hit-and-run style ship, where the Meteor is more forgiving in the maneuvering department, the M80 is more forgiving in the getting hit department. So, as for a list of strengths of the M80, we'll start with speed. It's fast, we know that one. Another one that becomes obvious fairly quick is the S-tier power requirements. You only need 4 power segments for engines and up to 4 on your weapons. For reference, the Guardian has a maximum of 11 power segments to fill for its engines. On top of that, the M80 has 2 size 2 power plants, so it has more than enough power for everything, which means it's also capable of running a legit stealth loadout. It's relatively sleek and has a decently small cross-section from the front at only 3.5 meters. It has crucial components inside the ship where they can be easily repaired. It has a bed, personal storage, weapon lockers, delivery box shelf, and of course, the 2 SCU storage grid in the back. Maybe its greatest strength is it has big guns, 2 size 5s and 2 size 4s, monumental firepower. But why are they allowing a ship like this to have such massive firepower? Just like the Meteor and Buccaneer, because of the low maneuverability, you're unlikely to win battles with other fighters in classic-style dogfights, as many other ships will just be able to run circles around you if you try. So the larger weapons are intended for quick hits in the moment that you're able to make a pass at your target. If they put this kind of weaponry on more maneuverable heavy fighters, it would be absolutely overpowered. On to the negatives about the ship. At the top of the list is turn rate. Again, for the sake of balance, it has to be be this way, but there are a few tricks you can do to make this less painful that I'll get into. The M80 also has less armor and HP than other heavy fighters because slower turn rates aren't quite enough to balance a ship like this, so you can't sit and face tank damage as long as some other heavy fighters. The last major drawback I've noticed when in combat is the fact that because the size 5 guns are visible from both the top and bottom of the ship, they seem to take damage from enemy ballistics quite easily. First, I'll cover components that you can easily get your hands on right now, and then I'll go over what I think would be the ideal build. The first upgrade you'll want to make is your quantum drive, and for that you'll want to grab the tried and true Chimera Civilian A. This will make a world of difference. For shields, the 2 stock 5MA Chamalis are not great, so I'd swap them with 7MA Lorica Civilian A's as they have superior regen delay and the second highest regen rate behind the FR76. If you're salvaging, you can often find full stop military C shields, and if you do, I'd swap one of these. Combined with the Lorica, it'll provide a balanced defense. Moving on to power plants, it comes stock with 2 Daybreak Civilian Cs, though I'd replace at least one of these with either Starburn or Genoa for more power segments, which can be found at shops, or a Maelstrom which can be salvaged from ships as well. As for the cooler, there's only one, so you'll need to make sure it's powerful enough to not overheat, as some builds can actually exceed the cooling of the stock cooler, though this will mostly be if you're using a stronger radar, as they actually seem to require a lot of cooling. But luckily the M80 is not starved for power. I'd recommend picking up either a Snowpack Industrial A or an Office Civilian A in the shops. But again, if you're salvaging, some ships come with Arctic Military Cs, which are great. And for the radar, I'd go with the SNS R7X Competition B, as it only takes 3 power segments for over 1900 meters in range. As you may have noticed, I mentioned salvaging components. If you're struggling to make AUEC, this is one of the cheapest ways you can acquire better components and weapons. And the easiest way to get them is to take salvage missions. Basically, you pay a small fee to get the location of a ship, which you can strip what you'd like from it and destroy it to complete the mission. You'll need to get past the first rank with Adagio rep to be able to get the good ones, but once you do, the ones you want to look out for are the Vanguard Wardens, which have Maelstrom power plants, 2 full stop shields, and a single Deadbolt 5. The Vanguard Sentinel also has a single Attrition 5, and the Prowler will have 2 Deadbolt 5s, and Eclipse Grade A power plant if you can figure out how to get it out. But once you're past the poor phase and you've acquired all the components you could possibly want, you'll want to equip 2 FR76s, 2 JS400s, and an Avalanche. And if you're running a ballistic build, you can max out Military A V80112 radar for some extra pip range. If not, keep the Competition B radar. I've tested the following builds: the stock loadout with Galderines and Rhinos, M7As and M6As, Deadbolt 5s and 4s, Attrition 5s and 4s, and the 85Bs and 84Bs. I feel I need to throw out a big disclaimer for weapons here though. The success of the loadout you choose will mostly be determined by what you're using it for. For that reason, I'll highlight what each loadout excels at and what it may struggle with. Also keep in mind that weapon balance will change over time. That having been said, some loadouts do feel stronger overall than others. I'm not going to focus too much on the default loadout or the M7A, M6A loadouts, but I can tell you that the default loadout is strong against fighters and weak against larger ships, as the alpha is too low for certain ships. But if you're in a group, you can always peel shields with it. The M7A, M6A laser cannon build is strong against larger, slow vessels, as you can orbit to continue applying damage, but apart from that, it doesn't harmonize very well with the archetype of the ship. The M80 is designed to make jousting passes, as its speed is the advantage, but handling is its hindrance. When you make a pass with the laser cannons on smaller, more agile targets, you'll hit a shield, it may even go down, but if you don't keep that damage up, the shield goes back up, but you've made no progress until you can get enough consecutive hits. Ballistics don't have this problem, as each pass will weaken your target more and more, with at least a portion of the ballistic damage penetrating the shield. So that brings me to my first viable build I want to talk about: Deadbolts. The Deadbolt's advantages are numerous. It packs a serious punch with massive alpha damage and best-in-class armored penetration distance. Not that the M80 needs it, but you also save on power segments by going all ballistic. Because the alpha damage is so high on the Deadbolts, it exceeds the armor thresholds of every ship, meaning there's no target you cannot potentially take down. So the Deadbolts turn the M80 into a large ship slayer, and with careful aim, you can dispatch fighters quickly as well. The thing I like about this build is that each connecting shot chips away a little bit more at your target. And with Armor Pen, you can toggle into precision mode to directly target a ship's power plant, which can end the fight very quickly. Precision targeting mode can be bound here in the menu. Or if you're using mouse and keyboard, simply right-click to toggle precision targeting on and off. Dealing with light fighters can be tedious, as the deadbolts, even after having their projectile speed recently buffed, are still slow-moving, slow-firing weapons, which will always make hitting agile targets a pain. I found the Vanduul blades to be especially annoying, but it can also make hitting things like PDCs on larger ships more difficult as well. Next, I tried the attrition build. This build feels more like a jack-of-all, master-of-none type build. The attritions gain the quick recharge benefit of repeaters, and some of the high alpha damage of cannons. You can damage most ships, but the larger ships like your Tiburons or Perseuses, you will not be able to damage. I expected that dispatching fighters with this build would be much easier than using deadbolts, but what I found is these were only marginally better against agile targets, as the fire rate is fairly low for a repeater. But what I like about this build is the fact that you can actually damage most ships. It won't be the best at dispatching fighters or larger ships, but you'll have the versatility there to do so. This brings me to the last build that I'll cover, the 85B 84B loadout. So this build is fairly similar to the attrition build in the fact that it can damage most ships, but not the larger ones. However, these weapons will make you feel like a god. Unlike the deadbolts or attritions, the 85B 84Bs will absolutely annihilate fighters, as they've had their projectile speeds increase from around 900 to around 1250. They also have high enough armor penetration to damage components through shields on fighters. And with a fire rate of 900, hitting smaller agile targets is not difficult. While you won't be able to damage capital and sub-capital ships with this build, it's still very useful, as these are perfect weapons for destroying guns, turrets, and PDCs. This loadout turns your M80 into a brawler. As for missiles, I swapped out the two 423 racks for two 481 racks to instead have a total of 32 size 1 missiles, of which I use Task Force 1s. They're cheap to fully restock at 6.4k and can be effective at dispatching light fighters, as you can fire volleys of 4. In conclusion, for weapon builds, from my experience, I'd say the deadbolts are by far the strongest loadout overall, as you'll be able to take out almost any type of target, but it'll generally take more skill as it's a slow weapon. Because you're able to take down bigger targets, this build will also allow you to solo more difficult missions that other builds just simply won't let you do. My overall favorite though is the 85B 84B build, as dispatching fighters is satisfying and easy. I wish these were more viable towards larger ships, but it'll be a great loadout for tactical strike groups. The attrition build is solid enough, but I don't see myself going back to it after trying the other two. The first thing I'll say is if you're familiar with decoupled flying, you'll have a great time using the M80. If not, I highly recommend familiarizing yourself. If you're using sticks, bind toggling decoupled to something easy and natural to press often. You might notice that turning the M80 can be rather slow. There's two things to keep in mind when trying to turn faster. One, use your roll to yaw up. Don't try to use your pitch to turn. Your roll is going to be faster. Two, boost into your turns, as boosting increases maneuverability values. Three, finally, if you use decoupled for only one thing, use it when you turn. Once you've turned around, you can switch to coupled to negate your momentum, then boost forward. When you try to turn coupled, your ship is using thrusters to try and stabilize your ship automatically, but these thrusters will also slow down your turning. Decoupling will give you the freedom to turn more quickly. If you're uneasy to try this in combat, just go out in space and practice turning around while decoupled, and if you compare, you'll quickly see how much faster you can turn using this technique. The next tip should be an obvious one, but if you're ever on the losing end of a fight, before you take significant damage, just boost away and recharge your shield. Most other heavy fighters don't have this advantage, as they're just too slow, but the M80 is fast enough to dictate the pace of the battle. Lastly, and this can really be applied to most space combat, but when you're fighting larger targets, you can slow down and stay in their orbit while avoiding turret fire. It's not as necessary to do hit and run tactics, unless it's something very dangerous. This will allow you to stay and apply as much damage as you can. When going up against noticeably more agile targets, such as light fighters, they'll obviously outrate you, and when you get close, they'll try to get behind you. So when you see them coming towards you trying to do this, you just backstrafe or boost backstrafe, hopefully long enough to get some critical hits on them. Hopefully you found this M80 guide helpful, and let me know down in the comments what loadouts are your favorite, or what you've found success with in the M80. And with that, I'll see you in the next one, citizens. Take care.